Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundi, we got the Stanley Cup Finals just on the horizon. They're starting in a couple of days. 2 days from recording, 1 day from when this episode will be going up, but we'll spend probably a good majority of this episode talking about a preview of that cup final. Final that's a rematch from last year even. But before we get to that, we got a bit of other news to attend to. There's been a couple of different things around the league of all different kinds. So, do we want to start, I guess, before all of that stuff within the rest of the NHL? We'll even go outside to the CHL where they just had their finals as well.
Yeah, I guess we can quickly touch on that before we roll into the NHL stuff. Just a quick recap for those who may not know. The London Knights, because of course the London Knights, won the 2025 Memorial Cup, defeating the Medicine Hat Tigers. There's always a rematch because it's kind of a round robin tournament, but Medicine Hat won the first matchup between the two in the round robin, and then the London Knights kind of whooped them 4-1 in the end to win the Memorial Cup. Not a whole lot to say on the tournament. Congrats to London once again. Easton Cowan winning the tournament MVP. I
thought that was probably
really
deserved for him. I could have seen it going to possibly Sam Dickinson as well, maybe even the goalie.
Would Dickinson have like 3 assists
in that final game or the playoffs?
Final game, because I think I think the award is just for the final game. I'm pretty sure that's the way they do it.
Oh, really?
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the way I was reading it is the final game. Very well could be wrong.
That makes some comments I saw make a little more
pick.
sense. So I do think that might be how it is.
Definitely a tough loss for Medicine Hat, as this is kind of, they had a team that was built for now and long term, but because of the whole thing now where the NCAA can poach players from the CHL, that team is going to go from by far the best team in the WHL to just depleted everywhere and probably already into a rebuild now because of that and the talent that they're going to be losing and the players that have graduated out of the CHL. So this was a big year for Medicine Hat, and to come up short, definitely do feel for them, as again, just going to be a completely different team next year now.
Yeah. There's always a ton of turnover in those junior teams just because of the nature of, you can only have the same guy for like at most like 4 years, right? So
more so because of now players can leave for because like they're losing like Caden Lindstrom. I'm pretty sure already committed. They're probably going to lose Gavin McKenna, which is a huge blow to that team. So, and then on top,
is this just WHL or is this like CHL across the board?
Across the board. Porter Martone is, I'm pretty sure, who's going to be one of the top draft picks this year. He's already going to be gone, so it's like, like a lot of the top end talent is
unfortunate.
So yeah,
it's unfortunate.
It really hurts for the CHL.
Yeah, there's just more money to be had in playing in the US in those junior leagues. So just the way they have it set up, you can get a lot more of the incentives on your contract. So, and most obviously all those guys, they're not even making ELC money yet. So like they haven't even been drafted. So they, even if the one team can offer $5,000, $10,000 more dollars to them, of the vast majority of those players are going to jump at that. So
yeah,
the new change, that's definitely going to hurt the CHL across the board and the Medicine Hat Tigers, but hopefully it doesn't draw too many players away. But congrats to the London Knights.
Yeah, congrats to the
London Knights,
the Hunter brothers.
Valiant effort by the Tigers.
By all teams, Medicine Hat, Moncton, and Rimouski. It's one of those tournaments where, even though Medicine Hat and London were kind of the clear 1 and 2 favorites. It's a tournament anybody can win, and at the end of the day, I'm kind of glad we got the matchup in the final between them. As again, they were kind of the two best teams, but great tournament by all four teams. And well, we'll probably be talking about London next year when they get back there, because that is an organization that doesn't ever go through a rebuild. Over in the OHL, they always find a way to be a top contender and attract top players. So we'll see them back in no time.
No, yeah,
Let's jump.
they're like the Canadians back before there was more than 6 teams. Like
Pretty much, actually, yeah, that's a
they're
great
just
way to.
always going to be in there.
They're always a favorite. Before we jump into the Stanley Cup Finals preview and our predictions, we got a couple one retirement, and then a couple contract extensions we want to quickly go over here. So, do you want to kick us off with the retirement here?
Yeah, so the one retirement, a player that we've actually mentioned because he was on one of these Final Four teams, and we were talking about this team's future. Jesper Fast announced his retirement from the NHL. I don't think he played a single game last year. He had a neck
He
injury
didn't play it all this
all year,
season. Yeah, he
and
got neck
so
surgery.
yeah, his contract expired, uh, or rather, is going to expire on July 1st, which I assume he's announced his retirement, but he's not going to do the retirement paperwork until that point. Uh, if he hasn't been paid out, I don't know when you stop getting paid. Maybe it's at the end of the regular season, I guess. But yeah, he. There's a good chance he's probably known this for a bit, and it's just wait until the end of
Mhm.
the season, and now he's done it. Uh,
Yeah.
Great career. Congrats to him. It's too bad that he was forced into early retirement because of a neck injury.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I respect these guys when they realize where they're at, and they do what's best for them, right? Like, how many guys
Well,
have we
especially a
seen?
neck injury, right? Like
Yeah,
neck,
like
head,
we've
any of
seen.
that back.
Like
Those
numerous
are
guys
bad.
try to come back from really bad injuries, and it only ends up making them worse. And um, at the end of the day, it is nice to see some players kind of take a step back and look and be like, I got the rest of my life ahead of me. I got my family and whatnot, and um, if walking away gives me a better chance at a longer, healthier, happier life with my family, and they take that road, I always got to you know tip my cap to them on that. So yeah, all I can really say is congrats to Jesper Fast on a great career, and wish him the best of luck in with whatever he does going forward here.
Yep. Don't really have much more to say. It's hard when the last time they played was at least a year and a bit ago.
Hmm.
But we'll move on because we do have a couple of contract extensions to talk about. This very first one, this one's actually an older one that we were looking back a little bit ago, and we realized we never covered this one. But this is a big enough one that even though it's about a month old, we want to go back and talk about it. But Calgary re-signed Matt Coronado to a 7-year deal for 6.5 million per year as the AAV. It's obviously not fresh news, but what are your thoughts on this?
I really like this deal. Um, I really do. When you look at Coronado, I mean, he played. Uh, this was kind of his first full year in the league. He did play 2 games in the AHL, but this was kind of his first full year being in the league as a regular NHL player. 77 games played, 24 goals, 23 assists for 47 points. And, that was, he is 22 years old, but that was stints between first line, second line, third line, fourth line. Like he was all over the place all throughout the lineup. And to still be able to put up, kind of consistent, half a point per game, a goal every, 3-ish games or so, being all throughout the lineup in his first full year, I think is awesome. This is a guy that's probably going to hit the 30 goal mark next year. So probably be a mainstay in Calgary's top 6 now. So, he's probably going to be 30 goals, probably 60 points, like
55,
for,
60 points, yeah.
for 6.5 for the next 7 years. That takes him until he's, what would they be, 29? And then you
29.
can lock him up for
He's
another
22 right now.
7-year deal if you want. So, in my opinion, I think this is a great deal for the Flames. I even think it's good for Coronado. People thought maybe kind of got underpaid, but he's getting a good chunk of money here, and he's still gonna be able to cash in on a big contract after this one. So,
Yeah.
uh, I think it's
Yeah, I
awesome.
think they've absolutely smashed it out of the park with this one. Like I man, he 13th overall in the 2021 entry draft. So he's got that pedigree. Like, you've been confident that he's going to be able to be a great player. And then, yeah, last year, like not the current year that's just wrapping up, but the year before that, 9 points in 34 games. So, like, coming in at 20 to 21 years old, doing a little bit of producing, not a ton, but he's young. The team wasn't great. And then, yeah, this year, he put up great numbers. Like, he's so young to be putting up numbers that good on a team that struggled for offense as well. Like, if he's on even a middling team, an average team for goal scoring, I'm trying to think of the teams in that around the 16, like right in the middle of the league range that aren't as bad at scoring as Calgary. Like, if he went to a Montreal or something like that, like he could have put up 60 points this year. So
Mhm.
the fact that he's just going to be getting better, it's a young team, a lot of guys getting better around him. The cap's going up. We always say it, but it's still true. Like, I think this is actually gonna end up being like, one of the better contracts in the league. Like, probably not a top 10 contract in the league or anything, but
Mhm.
like, there's a good chance that this is one of the best contracts on the team for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I would say so. And no, we talk about a lot about the offense, but even when you look at the defense, out of players on the Flames that played 25 games or more this season, Mackenzie Weegar was first on the team in plus minus, plus 18. Joel Hanley, Weegar played 81 games. Hanley played 53. He was a plus 12. Matt Coronado, 77 games, played plus 6. Not great, but you know, did lead the forwards. Jacob Peltier only played
That
24
says a
games, was a
lot.
plus 10. Mantha only played 13. He was a plus 6. And then Justin Kirkland only played 21 games. He was a plus 6. So Coronado, I mean, only 47 points, a good bit of them probably on the power play. And to still be a plus 6 means he's, solid in his own end, at least. He's not a liability out there. So to get a guy that's probably going to be a 30 and 30 and can be responsible defensively, 6.5 all day, like for 7 years, yeah, give that to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, he's going to be great for them, and that's a good point, that he's got the best plus minus out of the forwards on that team, because you can't just look at the plus minus in a vacuum. You have to look at it grading on the curve of what's it compared to the team. Like, people will look at I don't know his numbers, and we don't need to bring him up, but for instance, a Connor Bedard. I assume his plus minus was garbage this year because he was on the Blackhawks. But, you can't just look at a minus 30 or whatever it would have been and be like, oh, he's bad. Compare it to the other guys on his team and stuff, right? So
Hmm.
the the fact that he's the leading plus minus for forwards also bodes very well. You're right about that.
But we can jump into the next one, Johannes, with the next extension here.
Yeah, so this was one that I was not expecting to wake up to today, but I absolutely love this one. Tampa Bay extended Yanni Gord to a 6-year, 2.33 repeating AAV contract. I love this long term, low low AAV. Like, he had, what do you have? I believe it was 14 points in 21 games for the Lightning after he was traded at the deadline. Yeah, 14 and 21. Only one of those were goals. Uh, he rang a lot off the post down the stretch, but like, uh, that's 2 points every 3 games for 2.3 mil. Like, that's really solid. And then obviously he can play on the penalty kill. He can go in there. He's a grinder. He can forecheck like mad. I think this is a really good signing.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people that have mixed reactions to it.
Yeah.
There's people on the side that love it because it's a cheap cap hit, but then there's a side of like it is 6 years. But at the end of the day, Tampa's window is like up to 6 years. So this it doesn't hurt him in the long run. It's a contract that can be moved down the road if need be. Buyout's an option. I- in year 6, like they're probably going all in because it's kind of their last chance. So I've got I can't say I dislike it. It fits their timeline. I will say if Lou Lamoriello signed this exact same deal, people would shit on him because he's done this and people didn't like it. Um, yeah, I think this is a fine signing for a bottom six guy that can play anywhere, can play any kind of role that he needs to in that bottom six. He is a guy you can easily pair younger players with, and they can learn from him to adapt to that role if they're going to be a bottom six type of guy. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I, I think this
He
one's
really
awesome.
is such a Swiss Army knife. Like he could be on the power play, penalty kill. He literally played stints on both the fourth line and the first line with us since coming back already. Like he's worked
That
in
being said,
both
though,
of
you
those roles.
probably don't want him
You probably
long
don't
term
want
on
him
your first
long
line.
term on the first line, no. But there was one or two games where I think Gensel was sitting for maintenance games and he filled in fine. I think he had like 3 points in 3 games or something like that. Like
Mhm.
he can at least keep up when he has to there if you need to spread it out or whatever. But he's mostly going to be in that bottom six for sure, especially if they can work something out with Bjorkstrand long term. But I think that's gonna be real fun for the bottom six in Tampa because we were looking for a lot of guys that fit the exact mold of Gord. We were always looking for the next one, and we decided, you know what? If he's willing to come back cheap enough, let's take it. The
Yeah,
clause has not
exactly.
been confirmed from anywhere that I've seen yet. I am seeing that there is I've been seeing reports that there's a no trade and a modified no trade, so I don't know if it's a full, but either way, it doesn't look like it's a no move, which means you could send him to the minors if you have to in the later years. And that would bring the cap hit down to like, I think it's like 1.2 or 1.15 mil, which is incredibly doable.
From what it
But
looks like, it's just a full no trade clause.
it might be. That would make sense.
Yeah, that's what it looks like for the whole contract. It's no movement, it's just a full no trade clause. Doesn't turn into a modified, just a full no trade clause.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
maybe not
And
actually that easy to move out from it, but
yeah. And you know what? You don't need to move it. If he's playing that bad in the later years and you just can't have him on the roster, it's not a no move. So you can bury it in the minors and then it's taken up 1.1, 1.2 mil of your cap space. Like that's pretty low, especially again with the cap going up. Like the cap's going to jump the
mhm,
next few years probably more than this contract than the cap hit is
is worth.
each year.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
think this is
even
this
if
is a
he's
fine
just
one.
teaching young guys how to be a dog on a bone, you know what?
You need that.
Somebody's got to teach him how to do it.
And then the last one, the Minnesota Wild signed Marcus Johansson to a 1-year, 800K extension. Again, this is just another one of those kind of depth signings, kind of similar to the Gord, except this is only a 1 year and much cheaper. What did Marcus Johansson do last year? I feel like he had actually a pretty
Uh,
solid year for
he had a
Gord.
really solid year last year. I'm just pulling it up, but like in 72 games, 11 goals, 34 points, and double digit goals, and you just got him for 800K. Like that,
Yeah.
A plus, no
That's
notes.
that's a great, and again, Minnesota's gonna have a shit ton of money freed
Two
up this
points in
summer,
5 playoff
so
games.
they don't got to they didn't have to put a lot of money into a guy like Mark Johansson. That money can go elsewhere. So yeah, don't even have to really say much about it. A plus, great for Minnesota and Mark Johansson. It's probably just happy he can settle down somewhere for a little while longer. As a guy that's bounced around a lot, so
I was gonna
getting to
say, I'm
stay
looking at his
somewhere and
hockey
for a
DB. Holy
summer,
crap,
he's probably pumped
he's been
about
on the
that.
move. He went back to the Capitals and the Wild twice.
Mark Johansson as well, who will now hit the thousandth game mark next season if he stays healthy
Yep,
with Minnesota. So
983,
there you go.
983 games. Good for him. But
And then you had one last thing you threw in the box here to kick us
yes, I
off
did.
before our preview for the Cup final here.
Yeah, the last thing, which does include one of the players playing in this final, Alexander Barkov was announced as the Selke Trophy winner and the King Clancy Trophy winner earlier today. Um, probably one of the coolest trophy announcements I've seen uh in a bit. At least that's not like when they're announcing it at the award ceremonies. This one they didn't have leaked, which usually happens. Usually the Selke in particular always seems to get leaked and everyone finds out on Twitter. But the way that this one was shown was they got a bunch of kids from one of the local Florida hospitals that Barkov does a lot of work at, and he goes and visits there all the time. And I guess probably because the finals are coming up, he wasn't able to, and they had a bunch of the kids from the hospital show up with the Selke and the King Clancy Trophy and award it to him with the team. So that
That's
was
pretty
super cool
cool.
to see. Like that's so much better, and it's way better marketing for the NHL than you know fucking Craig Button or whoever releasing it on Twitter, being like,
Yeah.
yeah, this it looks like these are the votes. Like this is a much better way to find out. And yeah, I mean, I think the right guy probably won. Like
Mhm.
I don't think that's
Yeah,
a incredibly inflammatory thought on it, but sometimes the obvious choice is the right choice.
the right choice, yeah.
Did you see the voting? Have you looked at the voting numbers for this yet?
I caught a glimpse of it. I didn't really go too in depth with it, but I did kinda see a little bit of it, yeah.
Yeah. So, for those who don't remember, the finalists, so the top three in the voting, were already released a while ago. Barkov, Reinhardt, and Sorelli. This, to my knowledge, like this looks like one of the closest votes in a while we've had for definitely the Selkie, but just any trophy really, because usually one guy runs away with it, or it's a two-horse race at least, right? Like usually not all three guys are right in there, but the total pointage was 1,363 points for Barkov, and then Reinhardt had 837, and Sorelli had 828. Sorelli was only 9 points behind Reinhardt,
Mhm.
and both of them were just about 500 behind Barkov. Like I feel like we often see,
It's
one
still
guy
kind of
has.
a runaway for Bark no, not with the Selkie as much, though, I find. Because
I feel like
again,
one of them
it's
usually has
like
like
we talked about.
1,800 though.
I don't think with the Selkie, though. I think with some of the other ones, yeah, because there's kind of like that unanimous one, which like it's got to be that guy. But with the Selkie, it's kind of like, what do what do you kind of like? What's your motivational reasoning for
The
when
individual
you vote for
voters
this, right? Like,
value.
there's so many different things when it comes to kind of something like the Selkie. Whereas when you look at the Norris, it's just basically who had the most points as a defenseman, um, and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I don't feel like the Selkie. I'd have to look back at previous years, but I don't think the Selkies usually
Yeah, maybe that's something we'll look at in the
there's
off season.
much of a big jump between the 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I could be
Well,
wrong.
mostly just, and also just the top three of them being so close. Like all three of those finalists had at least 29 first place votes. Reinhardt and Sorelli actually both had 29 exactly first place votes, and Barkov had 96. But it's it's one of those things where it's just kind of incredible that you know it wasn't just one guy racking up all the first place and then a bunch of second and third and whatever for the other guys. Like there was a considerable amount of them for the other two that got first place.
Mhm.
Maybe I am just thinking about other trophies, the Hart Trophy and stuff like that. But yeah, the voting for this one was pretty interesting to look at. It's funny because a lot of the guys I would have expected, because they go, I think they might do like the top, kind of looks like the top 50, uh, or maybe it's the top 40, something like that. But a lot of the
I
guys
think
that I
everyone that was on
expect
the
to,
list is just everyone who got a vote. They just
yeah,
showcase
everyone
everybody
who,
who got a vote.
exactly. And it's funny because a lot of the guys way down at the bottom, the guys who got 1, 2, or 3 points, which means they got, a single fifth place vote, a single fourth, maybe two fifth place votes. Those are some of the guys that I figure would get a couple more votes. And then there's a couple of guys who were around, around like 15 on the voting, like way higher up, that I would figure would be down in that lower spot because they got like one really high vote. And so it kind of makes it look weird. Like, you think a guy like Crosby at this point, he's probably garnering a couple decent votes. He actually got 1/4 overall vote, and that's it. Like Anton Lundell, 1/5, and that's it. Like he has two great. I mean, he had two finalists on his team, but like 1/5 is crazy. But meanwhile, there's there's some guys higher up. Like Vincent Trocheck was at 18th. He got two third place votes. Vincent Trocheck. Like
He's
there's
decent defensively.
he's decent defensively. What, third place on your ballot for the Selke this year? I don't know, man.
But again, that's what I'm saying though. It depends on what guys view. Do they care more about plus minus? Do they care more about, like I mentioned, before we started recording, those advanced analytics? Do they care about the giveaway takeaway ratio, the block shots? How much time do they spend on defensive zone faceoffs or
On
penalty
the
kill?
penalty
Like
kill. Yeah.
there's so many different things that go into the Selkie. So it's one of those awards where I just kind of see it and I'm like, you know what? It's whatever the votes are. I'm sure if you asked them, they would have at least one reason for why, and be like, all right, you know what? If you have at least one reason for why I'm all for it. But it's like when it's stuff like McDavid, when he was clearly gonna win the Hart, and then the guy's like, yeah, I'm not even gonna give you a first, a second, a third, a fourth. I'm gonna give you a fifth place vote. It's like
Yeah.
those are the ones. It's
That's insane.
like what are we doing here? But with the Selkie again, like there's so many different things they
There's
can
a
go
lot
off
more
of.
that
So
can go into it, but like I do think the Selkie more than most trophies, there's a lot of guys just trying to be unique. And it's just
well, it could be
I have a
voters fatigue.
cool way of looking at it that nobody else does, and that's why I went with this guy. But like at the end of the day,
I'm fine
it's
with that. It
I
could
think
very
it's
well
just
just be voters fatigue. Like, look at Mark Stone. He had one second place, one fourth, and one fifth.
but
Mark Stone that was healthy all
there's
season
so
long.
many guys to vote for. Like if you want to say Barkov could have had more first place votes, but there's fatigue, sure, fine. But like I'm not buying it. The guy who put first place for Marcus Foligno, he was not the best defensive forward this year. You know, like
Could have been to that guy.
I, that guy is bad at watching hockey. Like, come on. Like,
But how many
I,
Minnesota games do you watch? Because
I don't watch a ton
I
of
don't
Minnesota
watch
games.
enough where I can say it's deserved, it's undeserved. I saw a few people that were actually like being like, I want to find out who voted for Marcus Foligno and you know buy him a beer or something, because there's people out there that felt like Marcus Foligno deserved it, and did he or did he not? I don't know, because again, I don't watch enough of every team and view all the stats. Be like, oh yeah, this guy,
It's
this guy,
pretty
this
tough to
guy.
watch
So,
every team consistently.
but yeah,
But
like
like,
if you're going that road, like yeah, there's probably half this list. You could be like, you could basically go from, maybe aside from like Mark Stone and Philip Deneau, and you could just do everyone under like Alex Tuck and just be like, don't really need votes on those guys type of thing. But I don't know. Guys vote it.
it doesn't.
Oh well.
It's not that bad when it's like they're throwing in other votes. It's when it's a guy like that getting like a first or a second place vote. It's like you seriously think he was better at being a forward and being a defensively responsible forward than Barkov, Sorelli, hell, Mitch Marner, even. Like I find it hard to believe that if you're like the guy with the most takeaways and compared to giveaways, penalty kill, like all these different things. You're telling me none of Barkov, Reinhart, Sorelli, Heischer, Eichel, Draisaitl, Marner, Kopitar, Hagel, Lowry, etc. Like none of those guys were better than Marcus Foligno this year. Like it's one of those things where it didn't change the vote much. It wasn't going to change anything. Marcus Foligno didn't win because of it. But like Marcus Foligno is just one guy that I saw in here that was one of the lower ones that had a first place vote, is why I'm talking about him. I think he's a great player and he probably deserved some consideration. He had a couple other third, fourth, and fifth place votes, but it's one of those things where it's just like it really just feels skewed, and
I'm not losing sleep over it, honestly.
it just feels
I couldn't care less, to be honest. Like,
it just feels like one of those things that, like, if we're doing these official for the NHL awards, we might as well take them seriously. And clearly, this guy's either biased or isn't taking them
yeah, but
seriously.
two guys gave Seth Jarvis first place votes. Like, people fucking voted for Nick Dowd. I mean, he's good, but again, like if we're going off that thing, fourth liner, you know, Ilya Mikheyev, like you can make the argument with so many different guys. And you know what? If it's a way that can kind of highlight some of these guys and be like, hey, you know what? Me personally, whoever the voter is, I thought you had a great defensive season. I want to give you your flowers. I'm all for it, man. Show
I'm
some
fine
love to
with the
these the
flowers,
more
but like a
defensively
first place
minded
vote
guys.
just seems crazy.
Who cares though? Someone voted Austin Matthews. Dude missed so many games, and it's like, why not just vote Mitch Marner at that point, right? Like, I don't really care.
Ah,
Good for Marcus Foligno.
I
Who
think it
cares?
I
And
think it
it's just
devalues
another
it.
vote
I
for
think it devalues the
Barkov.
awards.
No, it doesn't.
I think it devalues it a
No,
little bit.
it
I'm not saying
doesn't.
they don't mean anything. I'm not
It
saying I don't
devalues
care who wins. I'm
I
just
think it
saying
devalues the
it would
award more
matter.
when it's the same guy winning every year. That devalues the award more, I think. Because then it's
Well,
like,
not if he's the best.
but again, but that's what I'm saying. What defines the best for this? That's what I'm saying. That's why this award is, I kind of like this award and the way the voting goes, because how do you define it? You could ask every single voter and you could get 50 different reasons for it. And
I
that's
think there's a
what's fun with
finite.
it.
I don't know what the number would be. I do think there is a finite amount of correct answers for like number one. I think
And that's
once
very well
more than
possible.
10 different people have been said, I think now anyone trying to bring another name into the conversation for the number one best is like you're just trying to say a name different than everyone else, so people are talking about you.
But like for Marcus Foligno, he had what, like we'll say he was around 300 hits. So we'll say 300. What if 50 of those hits were in the defensive zone and forced turnovers, and then Minnesota got the puck and potentially went down and scored, type of thing? Like, maybe for that guy, maybe he's like, hey, you know what? That's a huge thing, as opposed to who's the guy within that range? I don't. We'll go Vincent Trocheck. 'Cause I don't know if he hits a lot, but Vincent Trocheck, who doesn't, he's got takeaways, but he doesn't maybe force turnovers, type of thing. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
like it.
And I'm fine if you want to
Again,
put
that's just
Foligno
different.
over Trocheck. It's you got to compare it to the all the guys on the list. Like he
But
put him
who's
above.
below him that it's like that feels wrong.
But that's the thing. I'm not talking about who's below him. Somebody had him at the top. Barkov is below Foligno for that guy.
And again, that's what I'm saying. Maybe it's just voters fatigue for that.
But
That's
then
what I'm
why
saying, right?
is
Like, we don't
but
know for sure.
should Reinhardt be below Foligno for that? Like should Sorelli?
I
He
don't know.
sure? Like it I
Again, I got no
different things
clue.
go into it, but at a certain point it feels like it's just bias. It's hard to look at it and not think it's probably just bias.
Yeah, I really just, I couldn't care less. Like, at the end of the day, the right guy won. I picked Reinhardt just because I wanted to be different, but I was like, it was probably going to be Barkov, because
Yeah.
it'll probably just be Barkov until he retires at this point, because
I think people really want
yeah,
Nico Hischier to win. Has he won one yet?
I don't believe so.
I definitely think he's going to win one in the next 3-5 years.
Really? You
I
think
think a
Barkov
lot of
retired
people
that
want.
early?
I think I think
No, he
Hischier
hasn't won one.
want. I think people want Hischier to win one, and I do think once his entire team can be healthier for a season and he can keep improving, I think he's gonna be able to have a career year at some point. And if he has a season that's even close to Barkov, I think people will want to. I think there's a lot of guys in the league that if they had basically identical season to Barkov, they would lose based on name recognition. I think he's one of the few guys that would win if he tied Barkov in a season because people want him to be in that conversation.
But again, doesn't that, it's like you said, doesn't that devalue the award though if there's a bias
I kind of think so.
and it's just
But I
people
think that's how
force
but I think
trying
that's
to
how it would
force the
go.
narrative?
I
Maybe.
don't
Yeah.
like that would come into it. I would prefer if they, found some sort of tiebreaker, face-off percentage, something like that, but, you know, for how it actually goes, I mean, we've seen it. There's how many different guys have won the Selke in the last 20 years? Like like 5 or 6
Mhm.
probably.
Yeah.
Fucking
All right,
Bergeron's
we should
got
move
like
on
8 or 9.
from the Selke or those.
But
We
we haven't
got
even talked about the King Clancy. Yeah, we
yeah.
can.
What the fuck is the King Clancy actually?
Yeah, I'm just googling it.
I don't even know what that award is. Genuinely, I had no clue.
It's
Not the Mark
it's
Messier
one of the
Leadership Award.
humanitarian ones. Uh,
Oh, so I
the
can't
winner
say
is
it's stupid, but
chosen by a special quotation marks special panel of representatives end quotations. Don't know what that means. By the Writers Association and NHL Broadcast Association. Player who best exemplifies leadership qualities on and off the ice and has made a significant humanitarian contribution to his community. So, you know, it's the Lady Bing but off ice. It's
so you know that's probably a big reason, maybe why the like you mentioned the way the awards were presented, like getting the King Clancy from the the hospital that you go to a lot, and the kids there, like
yeah.
fuck yeah, that's perfect. All
And I
right,
think
good
that's
enough.
definitely happened before. I think did Backlund win it one year? I think he won it a couple
Yeah.
years ago and he got awarded it by some kids that he does a lot of stuff with. Like it's it's a good trophy. It's a good trophy. You don't have to make a big deal about it at the end of season award ceremony, but it's one of those ones that's still nice to exist.
Well, and there you go. If you want to take away and kind of make the award meaningless, why is Selke not a part of the big award show? Right. That was my first thought. Actually, was like, why is the I don't know if that's always the case. Maybe it has been. But I'm like,
I was gonna say
why not include the Selke with all the other awards? Like, I feel
I
like it's
feel like
just as important.
I feel like last year they went up on stage and
It's more important than
collected
the
the Selkie, right?
fucking William M. Jennings Trophy.
Yeah, who gives a shit about that, man?
Like that award is a team award, but it gets given to the goalies. And I'm like, fuck, like that's a team award at the end of the day.
We have the Vesna. Why does that one still exist? Like,
Yeah, that one's shit. Not a shit. Who won the Mark
or
Messier?
you know what?
We'll Google that actually.
At least give it to the guy. Don't go on goals against average. Go on save percentage at least for the Jennings. At least then it would be like kind of like an Art Ross versus a Hart for the goalies.
Yeah.
Because right now it's like it'd be like if they had one for wins and then the Vesna. It's like why at least make it like the best counting stat for goalies.
Who won the Mark Messier Leadership Award? I know that one was given out recently. The award
Totally
means
was.
dick all, but I'm curious about who won it. I remember seeing it,
I
but
can't remember. I feel like it was really goofy.
I thought
Oh,
there was actually one
Ovechkin.
that kind of made sense. Oh, there you go. You know what? Fair. Fuck, why not? Like I
Yeah.
can't even argue with that. Actually, you know, fair.
I'm gonna
That was my
argue with it
better
because it's Mark Messier. Why
Well,
does
yeah.
this
I
one
mean,
dickhead get to
still
award
a
an award?
shit award. Yeah, still a shit award. Hate it.
Yeah. That one's gonna hold
Sucks.
like Archie comics beside Ovechkin's toilet. He's
God.
got so many other awards, like he does not care about getting that.
Yeah. All right.
Dude's got like what 9 rocket Richards around his house. He's got to have a whole room
I'm
for
glad
him.
you added Richards. Just not. Yeah, he's just got 9 rockets. Which mean, all right. Stanley Cup final preview
The Stanley
rematch.
Cup.
The rematch of 2024 we are getting again here in 2025. The Edmonton Oilers, Florida Panthers. Fun stat. Do you want a fun stat? You love fun stats.
I love fun stats, dude.
This, and I'm assuming this is since the NHL went to the 16 teams make the playoffs, because I'm sure this probably fucking happened when only 4 teams made the playoffs or whatever.
Yeah.
But this is the first Stanley Cup final where both teams coming in did not hold home ice advantage in a single series. Florida did not have home
A
ice
double
advantage over
Cinderella run.
Tampa, over Toronto, or over Carolina. And Edmonton did not have home ice advantage over LA, over Vegas, or the Dallas Stars. So both teams haven't had home ice advantage. Edmonton this year does get home ice advantage. Florida did last year in the Cup final. Edmonton's go around this year. I feel like there's another one. There's another stat, but we'll come back to that at some point when I remember.
Uh,
But rematch.
I I don't know for sure if this is a thing, but I mean, I'm like 99.9. It has to be. Um, we could see a record show up by the end of this series that it sounds unbreakable. I thought of this morning, and we could see the first ever back to back Conn Smythe winner without a cup. I'm not saying it'll happen. We haven't even got to the predictions on who we think's going to win, and if Florida wins, who knows who's going to win the Conn Smythe? Could be several guys on their team, or it could be McDavid. It could be Draisaitl, even like who knows? It's incredibly open, but like there's very few guys who have
David or Draisaitl need
lost.
to go off
Yeah,
in the cup final.
yeah,
Like,
but
because
he's one of
last
those
the
guys that
gap
can.
between very well, yeah, but, like, the gap between McDavid and the next like, again, it's hard to fully compare because, again,
Oh
I
yeah,
think, like, if it wasn't McDavid, it was Bobrovsky, and then
yeah.
it's impossible to compare forwards or defensemen to goalies because it's completely different positions and everything.
It
But
really
yeah,
comes down
like,
to the eye test for a lot of those.
yeah, and the gap between McDavid and, the next Florida player that maybe wasn't Bobrovsky, it was so big, like, considering the fact that, if Florida won in 4, it probably just goes to Bobrovsky,
I think it
but the
went to
fact that
Bobrovsky for
Bobrovsky
sure. Then
had a couple bad games, and, like, it was McDavid, like, basically dragging
he
this
had like
team.
back to back 4 point nights, didn't he?
Yeah, like, he, like, dragged this team that was just burnt out and injured and done all the way to a game 7, and you were a goal away from going to overtime. Like, yeah, how could you not give it to him at that point? Like, on the biggest stage, he
Yeah,
was basically the only one that still had any gas left in the tank, and again was like winning games for Edmonton. So, I did find the other stat here I had. It's from your favorite guy, Steve Dangle. The last 7 Stanley Cup Finals have featured 8 Atlantic teams.
yeah,
If you're wondering how that happened, that is because in one of the bubble years, the Montreal Canadiens went on a run. They weren't technically in the Atlantic Division that year, but they were still an Atlantic team that year. So, um, outside of that, not just throw Montreal out of that. That's 7 years in a row. Then Atlantic team has gone to the Cup final. Like, you know, I mentioned it in the previous episode that the Metro's fucking not as great as we thought it once was. And again, like, whatever Metro team gets to the conference finals, they can't get past the Atlantic. The Atlantic's
yeah,
got a stranglehold right now, over there in the East.
yeah. They're man, it's just such a dogfight, and Carolina hasn't been able to get over the hump. And then who else would it be in that division?
Rangers,
The Capitals
Islanders.
were up there. They fell off. They're kind of back now. I guess the Islanders for a couple years there. Yeah, they reached the
Oh,
conference
it
finals,
wouldn't be
and then the
Capitals.
Rangers.
Capitals only got past the second round once in the Ovechkin era. They did win the
Yeah,
cup,
yeah.
which
I'm
is
just thinking of
good enough
teams that
for
are
them.
like
But
consistently good generally, just like throughout the regular season. But yeah,
over that span, it was the Rangers, Islanders, Carolina were the 3 that were able to fight their way to get there, but weren't able to get over that last little hurdle, make it to the cup final. The
yeah.
Atlantic is king over in the East.
Um,
Beasts, units.
but looking at the previous Conn Smythe winners that didn't win the cup, like Glenn Hall in 1968, Reggie Leach in 76, Hextall in 87, JS Jagier in 03, and then McDavid in 2024. That's the end of the list. So it's happened 1, 2, 3, 4, what's that, 5 times ever. And he could potentially be 2 of the 6 times it's happened and in back-to-back years. Like that would just be an insane stat if it ended up happening
Mhm.
with how incredibly rare it is, but
When you talk about McDavid and, making history and whatnot and cementing himself, I think if that was the case, I think whether McDavid wins the cup or if they lose and he gets Conn Smythe, he cements himself as an all-time great. We know he's going to, but like that would be the official mark for it.
yeah.
Um, comparing McDavid to some
If
all-time
anything,
greats.
it would be damning for the Oilers ownership. Like
Mhm.
with hindsight, it would be like it wouldn't be like McDavid wasn't a winner. People would look back and be like, "Man, those owners fucking sucked, and they couldn't give him a team good enough that they didn't give him a light enough suitcase to carry to the promised land." Like,
I mean, if like we with Washington, if Washington didn't win their cup, we'd be saying the same thing with them and Ovechkin, right? Like
yeah. Well,
the greatest
especially if he
goal
ever
scorer of
got
all
past the
time, and
second round. Oh my
mhm.
god, it would have been like, what the hell were they doing?
But we're talking about McDavid and all-time greats. He's got a chance to do something and join the likes of Wayne Gretzky and Sidney Crosby. And you're wondering, how is that possible already? Well, Wayne Gretzky in 1983 lost in the Stanley Cup final against the New York Islanders. The following year, 1984, he ended the New York Islanders dynasty actually and won the Stanley Cup. Uh, so lost to the Islanders. 1 year following year, goes back and faces them again and beats them. Sidney Crosby lost in his first Stanley Cup final in 2008 versus the Detroit Red Wings. The following year, in 2009, he beats the Detroit Red Wings to win his first Stanley Cup. Connor McDavid, we know the story of last year, 2024, loses in the Cup final to the Florida Panthers. And now this year, he has a rematch against the Florida Panthers. So if McDavid wins, he wins his first Stanley Cup and he joins Wayne Gretzky and Sidney Crosby in doing it in the same fashion, which I think is pretty damn cool.
Yeah, like and there's so many different parallels you can run there. Like those teams that the other two that you mentioned beat, like the Islanders, like according to some people, the last like real dynasty that the NHL had, and like they were the team to beat. If you wanted to be a winner in the NHL at the time, you had to be like, all right, how can we beat the Islanders? Because we are going to have to at some point. They're not going to go out to somebody else in the playoffs. And I mean, the Red Wings were on a insane run of 25-ish years straight in the playoffs, several cups over the past decade, and Crosby was able to get back there and overcome that in the second go at it. Like, and now with McDavid, well, three straight finals for the Panthers. They had a President's Trophy right before that. They've got one cup, looking for two. Like, they're they're in
They're they're
one
they're
of
they're they're a potential
they're one of
dynasty.
yeah, they're one of the
They're not
measuring
there yet,
sticks in
but
the league right now
they're on
for
a
sure.
mhm. Also, I don't like
So
saying it, but it is true. I think the last real dynasty we had was the Blackhawks in the 2010s. I don't like
yeah,
saying it,
I
but
would I would I would I would say they were probably a dynasty. I,
when you
I would
talk
have to
about
say
the
that.
Blackhawks owning a dynasty, you're like, damn, good players there. Connor McDavid just fuck, what was the stat? It was nuts. Give me a second. Talk about
Yeah,
something else, and then I'll come back to because it's actually
yeah.
it's a nuts stat.
I I'm biased in saying this, but I would have the Lightning in there as a modern day dynasty. Uh,
For me,
I
it's
know a
3
lot of
Stanley Cups. But again,
I
it's
think
different for
I think a
everybody.
lot of I was gonna say I think a lot of people have stuff like that, and like if you have a hard line for it, I think that's fine. Like it's such a vibes based and like individual person to person thing. For me, it's just like the high level of play sustained for so long. Like over 10 years, they had four trips to the finals. They had a President's Trophy win with 62 wins in a season, two cups, like several conference final appearances as well outside of the cup runs. Like they it's kind of the consistent and then also hitting that next level peak of the three-peat finals and two cups.
And that's fair, yeah. Okay, I found the stat here. So Jonathan Taves, three-time Stanley Cup champion, won a Conn Smythe in Chicago's first of three Stanley Cups. Across his entire career, 119 playoff points. Connor McDavid, since 2002, 120 playoff points. So in the
Sorry,
last 4
2022?
2022. So in the last
Okay.
3 playoff years, and then this year, which isn't concluded, McDavid has one more point than Jonathan Toews had in his entire career in the playoffs. Like, that just goes to show
And
how
he's not even done with this
insane.
run.
Yeah. He's every
Like
point now, he's just adding on to that total. No disrespect to Jonathan Toews, like, he's a, phenomenal player,
no,
he's 3 times
no,
Stanley
that's
Cup champion.
why this is such an
It's just
impressive stat because of how
exactly.
good Taves was,
Yeah.
and McDavid's just already there in that short amount of time.
I just know there's people out there that are like, "Oh, you hate Jonathan Toews." Like, no. Terrific player, great guy. Won a Mark Messier Leadership Award. Fuck, like, that's the best award you can win. People are
Yeah,
like
it's
would kill to win that shit. Fuck, I hate that award. Just what, but he did win it, so let's highlight it. Won a Selke too. There you go.
it is funny because like if they picked the right guy, I feel like you could get people behind that award. When he retires, if they made a Sidney Crosby award and it's just Crosby picks who's the biggest unit in the league, everyone would be like, "This is awesome. I
Yeah,
can't wait
this
to
is
see who
sick.
wins it." Like Crosby says you're good? Well, fuck yeah. Like you're the man. Like but Mark Messier says it and, between what he did in Vancouver and some of the ways he played, he was a bit of a dirty guy. It was a different time, but
I don't even think I think it's just when you look at it and it's like, he picks Jacob Trouba when Trouba had, I think, like 2
and you know what?
suspensions that season for
There's
elbowing
also
guys in the
stuff
head,
like
and it's
that.
like, and it's just shit like that where I'm like, that's kind of why I don't take the award that seriously.
Yeah,
Like, you
and
could
he
have
was
picked
the
anyone
captain
else and I
of
would have been like,
Messier's old team. Like
yeah.
all that weird stuff. Like, why'd you pick him? And then on top of that, like he's probably just one of your buddies, isn't he? Like,
Mhm. Yeah. Um, so with the
but
Stanley Cup final, I've got an idea for what
yeah,
we can do. And I we might have done it last year, so I'm gonna pull up the Florida Panthers lineup. You're gonna pull up the Edmonton Oilers lineup. We're gonna go through
done.
all 4 lines, all 3 defensive pairings, and kind of um I think we'll just say maybe who's got the edge in that potential matchup between,
Oh,
forward
an
line
edge
1,
off.
forward line 1, and yeah, big old edge off. Fucking love having edge offs here. And we'll kind of see where these teams kind of stack up with each other. Is these lineups should be up to date now with all the injuries and whatnot. This should be where the teams are at going into game 1 on Wednesday here,
All
unless
right.
anything crazy happens. But as far as I know, this is how it should be. Do you want to go first for
All
forward
right.
line 1, or would you like me to go first for forward line 1?
You know
FL1.
what? Let's start with the reigning champs.
The reigning champs, the Florida Panthers. On the first line, you have Evan Rodriguez and Sam Reinhart, centered by Selke winner and King Clancy winner, Alexander Barkov.
Yeah, that's
Pretty
that's
damn good.
solid.
It's a damn good
Uh,
first.
insane shutdown line as well. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
um, the Oilers' first line is on the left
Oh,
side.
one wait,
Ryan
wait, wait,
Nugent.
quickly. It's also
Oh, sorry.
crazy that you've got a guy in Sam Reinhart that, you know, is capable, hasn't done it, but is capable of dropping 60 goals in a season and just finished second in Selke votes. Like,
Yeah.
that's pretty rad. That's pretty rad. Just wanted to throw that out there. All right, forward line 1 for the Oilers.
On the left wing, we have Ryan Nugent Hopkins. On the right side, we have Corey Perry, and centered, of course, by the man himself, Connor McDavid. Uh, uh,
I mean, Corey Perry,
bet,
five Stanley Cups in the last 6 years now.
yeah, Cup Finals,
Yeah, sorry, yeah. What did I say?
Stanley Cups. He
Oh,
wishes he had 5
yeah.
Stanley Cups.
Yeah, no. And still just has the one from Anaheim. And, I mean, at the end of the day, as you know, as good as Florida's first line is, as much as you can glaze it, it's Edmonton because Connor McDavid's there.
Yeah,
You could say Mayo, maybe Corey Perry weighs it down. Corey Perry fucking could be a goal per game guy in the Cup final playing alongside McDavid because he's got a drive for the net, bats and loose pucks, just gets open, creates havoc. Like,
well, in the
he may be
finals
old, but
against
he's
this
still
very
effective.
team last year, he had we'll call it a highlight reel goal for Perry, but it's a highlight because McDavid goes through everybody, burns everyone on the other team, then throws it out cross crease. Also had the goalie bite on it, and it was just an empty netter for Perry. Like,
Mhm.
sure, McDavid gets the assist on that goal, but we all know who just scored that goal.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
both great first lines, but at the end of the day, Edmonton's got McDavid, so you got to tip your cap to them and say they would win that matchup
yeah,
on
I
paper, at
agree.
least. On the ice, totally different thing. But just going straight up,
Yeah,
what's on paper right now? Um, yeah, going with Edmonton there. Forward line number 2 for the Florida Panthers: Carter Verhaeghe and Matthew Tkachuk, centered by Sam Bennett.
it's a pretty good second line. In
It's a create
Edmonton,
havoc, like just create shit line basically.
yeah, but like not at the expense of scoring plenty of goals either.
Hmm.
Uh, in Edmonton, they got Evander Kane and Kasperi Kapanen on the wings, and Leon Draisaitl up the middle. This one, Draisaitl is the best out of the 6 guys we've mentioned. He's not McDavid levels of carrying this line to be better, I don't think. Evander Kane's been
Hmm.
really good in these playoffs, but Kasperi
Kapanen's
Kapanen,
had some moments, but
he's been
again,
good
is
in
that
these
like a
playoffs,
guy
but
that probably not a guy you want on your second line going in the cup final though.
yeah, you'd probably rather somebody else
Again,
able
keeps proving
to
people
capitalize
wrong
on
with
being
his
with Draisaitl.
yeah, he keeps proving people wrong with his play. He's been fantastic, but um in this matchup, I'm gonna go Florida. Yes, Draisaitl
I'm
is the
going for it
best
as
of
well.
the 6 players, but at the end of the day, you know what? Carter Verhaeghe has 6 goals. It
Players two,
seems like
three, and
every goal he
four are
scores.
probably Florida. So
Yeah, and every goal Carter Verhaeghe scores seems to be a big goal. He's got the same amount of goals as McDavid in the playoffs, only one less than Draisaitl and Perry Huich has 7. And Sam Bennett leading every player in the playoffs so far with 10 goals. The only next closest is Ranton with 9 and Svechnikov with 8. Nathan McKinnon's still there, tied for 4th with 7. Like he was doing
jeez.
everything he could in the first round. But at the end of the day, I mean, Sam Bennett, he's leading everybody in goals. So maybe if you're not, and there's lots of people that aren't crazy about the shit he does, outside of scoring goals and creating havoc and elbows and whatnot. But at the end of the day, I mean, fuck, he's got 10 goals. He's finding a way to put him in. So I do, yeah. Gotta agree with you and tip the edge to Florida in that matchup there.
Yeah. I really do think that Edmonton just needs to like send a guy over. Hell, make it Evander Kane, make it a big dude, Darnell Nurse, and
Well,
just
Kane's
like
not as much of a big guy.
just go over there in game 1, be like, if like purposeful or not, if anything happens to Skinner, Bobrovsky doesn't leave the ice on his own 2 feet. Just like it's 3 series in a row that the Panthers have had somebody elbow the other goalie in the head. Like
Call
that's
me crazy.
that
I would rather send Draisaitl to deliver that message than Kane.
like yeah, like I have no idea who the
Draisaitl's
best would be. Hell, maybe you send the coach. Maybe the coach says it over the bench. I
honestly,
don't I don't
it
even
would
know.
it'd probably just be a Corey Perry. But like Leon Draisaitl, you look at him, he
Probably.
doesn't fight often, but it's like, man, if he dropped the gloves and fought, like he just kind of looks like a guy that's like, man, if he actually fought and was pissed off, he might like just kill someone.
Yeah.
Like I like when you see Draisaitl pissed off, it's like, man, if he fights, I don't think I'd want to be the guy going up against him. Like he looks like he
Yeah.
could do some
How
damage.
tall is he? Is he
Um,
big? Like I feel like he's
I don't
probably
know.
like
He's husky. I think that's fair to say. I don't think he's not like super tall, but
I
he's
thought he was like
like
maybe
built.
6'2". Yeah, 6'2", 209. Like he's
Yeah,
not
that's
small. He's probably
good
not
enough. Yeah,
big
no.
by NHL standards, but he's certainly in a small dude. 6'4" on skates probably. You
Um, third line,
third
third
line
line.
for uh did you already read the third line for
No, no.
Florida?
So I'll read off the third line here for Florida. Eetu Luosterainen, he is still listed on here. Does sound like he might be questionable, so we'll see. But as right now, they do have him listed there, which means he did practice with the team. So Luosterainen and Brad Marchand, centered by Anton Lundell, and in my opinion, has been the best line for Florida in the playoffs. As crazy as that is with the top 2 lines, this has been their best and most consistent line.
Yeah. Yeah, actually. Like yeah, I was going to start arguing. I was like, no, like they've been so consistently good. Like
You hear about him every game.
there's a reason that all of their guys are like tied for points. It's because their third line is producing the same as the first and the second. Like it's crazy what they've done. In Edmonton, they got Vasily Podkolzin on the left, Victor Arvidsson on the right, centered by Matthias Janmark. I like this third line. It's not what Florida's built. This is
Yeah,
the
I
first one
actually
that's
really do like
really
that line for
this is the
Edmonton.
first one
Like,
that feels really obvious to me just because of how good
mhm.
Florida's third line is.
Yeah, like can you read off that for Edmonton one more time?
Podkolzin on the left, Janmark centering, and Arvidsson on the right.
Yeah, like that's still a damn good third line. But yeah, it
It's
more than
good.
anything, again, it just highlights how good this third line is for Florida. Like I can't even say it's like, oh, Edmonton's bad. Like Edmonton's is really good. It's just, again, this is Florida's most consistent line so
Yeah.
far in the playoffs. Like they just go in there,
No, yeah,
they
like this
they
is this,
create
it's one of
havoc,
those
they
lines that
cause
people
shit,
will
and they
remember.
yeah, just like
Like it's
Pittsburgh. What was
I was gonna
Pittsburgh's
say
best line when they won the cup the first year?
it's like
It
the
was the
yeah,
HBK
Pittsburgh had
line.
the HBK line, Tampa had the Coleman, Gord, Goudreau line. Like I think
Yeah,
this is up there with those two for like holy shit. Like so many teams you talk about the top 6 getting scoring and then you just get one of those teams that's just got generational depth and it's like no, we're talking about the top 9
mhm,
without compromising talking about how much scoring we want out of it.
yeah, yeah. I'm right there with you. And then the fourth line for Florida: Jesper Boquist, Jona Gadjevich, and Thomas Nosek, in the middle there.
Surprised Mackie Samaskevich isn't in there.
Yeah,
He
is he
played pretty well in some of those games that he was in. Like I don't
he injured?
I don't think so. I think he got put just kind of got pushed out of the lineup.
Um,
I'm
yeah,
not
he
sure
did.
which
Yeah,
one of those guys would have done it, but like he was good throughout the year and these playoffs when he's played. So
he's only played
maybe
four
some of the other
playoff
guys
games.
play on penalty kill or something. Like they have some other deployments where it's worth bringing them in. But
Yeah, and it is worth noting the other two forwards aside from Samaskevich that's not in the lineup. AJ Greer, who I thought has actually been pretty good in the time he's got in the playoffs, and then Nico Sturm. Um, he he's played a handful of games in the playoffs. Fourth liner penalty killer, but again, like I mentioned back around the trade deadline, was the best faceoff guy in the league this season. So, having that in your back pocket, you can maybe slot in if need be, is a nice little extra weapon that Florida does have that's not even in their lineup right now.
yeah. And then for Edmonton, they got Jeff Skinner on the left, Trent Frederick on the right, centered by Adam Henrique. There is not a ton of fall off between their third and fourth line with Edmonton. Like, I
Hmm.
really like just the amount of depth they've been able to acquire with these guys. I really like that. Um, the extra guys they have as well, which are actually, I don't know if they have any healthy scratches, but I know they're injured guys. Connor Brown is currently listed as day to day. And then also we've kind of forgot to mention Zach Hyman is out, and it sounds like he's going to be out for the entire playoffs. That's what they've said. If it goes to an elimination game, I guess we'll see, but probably not going to see him.
Yeah,
I imagine
I
Hyman
think
was
David,
that spot that we were talking about on the right wing on that second
with
line.
McDavid. No, he
With
was with McDavid, and Corey Perry dropped to the second line with Draisaitl.
mm, yeah, like
And
just that
if
extra
Connor
bit of
Brown comes
depth like
back, he
would have helped him so much
probably.
to be in there still.
Mhm. And I'm assuming if Connor Brown's healthy, he probably slots in on that second line instead of yeah, is it Kapanen?
Yeah,
Yeah. And then even if he does, it definitely makes Edmonton's second line better because Connor Brown's been a stud. But even so, I would still give the edge to Florida because, um, just again, Edmonton's got the top guy, but 2, 3, 4 out of those 6, I would give to Florida. Doesn't
yeah.
look so. Max Jones, who they got from Boston, hasn't even played in the playoffs so far yet. Um, and then they still have Derek Ryan listed, but like, didn't he just announce his retirement actually a couple weeks ago?
I'm not even sure. I would
So,
assume not if his team was poised to go on a run, but
so in terms of the guys not in the lineup, I definitely do give the edge to Florida there because again, Samaskevich and Sturm, like that's
yeah.
Two good guys that could come and be impactful. For the fourth lines, honestly, for me, probably just a wash.
What was Florida's again? Do you mind reading that one more
Um,
time?
Florida's was Jesper Boquist, Jona Gadjevich with Thomas Nosek.
I think I give the edge to Edmonton a bit on the fourth line. I don't think
Mm,
it's a ton, but I really like Adam Henrique's game. He's such it's just the depth they have that he's on the fourth line. He's more of a third line guy. Him
I
and
could
Frederick are both
maybe,
pretty good,
but
but
Frederick hasn't really done much for Edmonton since coming in. I really do think he's still injured. Like,
yeah.
we talked about when they got him from Boston, he was injured. He only played one regular season game. He comes in and he's just not the Trent Frederick that he was with Boston. He's not out there just hitting, creating havoc, fighting. Like, you can tell he's definitely playing injured. And yeah, for me, if you want to give it to Edmonton, like I can't argue with it. I'm just gonna say a wash because
It's
I think
pretty
Adam Henry's
yeah, it's
the
pretty
best.
close.
But
Yeah,
if
that's
these
mostly what I'm
lineups
going on.
were matched up head to head, this isn't an environment for Jeff Skinner to be in. If it's a fourth line versus fourth line, Jeff Skinner shouldn't be in a position where he's out there against guys that are out there to just hit, play good defense, dump the puck in, and hit everybody. Um, Shout out Jeff Skinner, scored his
Yeah.
first career playoff goal. I don't think we actually gave him proper congratulations in the last episode. Um,
Probably not
yeah, he's not,
because he had
not a
been scratched
fourth
for most of the
line.
playoffs.
Yeah, yeah, he's not really a
Rough.
fourth line type of guy. But again, like if we want to go Edmonton just off the Henrique factor, I'm not arguing.
Yeah. But we can move on to the defense here.
The
A
defense,
defense for the Oilers. They're getting Ekholm back, which is massive
yeah, having
for
that
them.
comeback
Like
is huge.
I can't believe how good their defense has been, and now they're getting him back. Like
Hmm. Do you think
man,
he's fully healthy, or do you think it was like
I
a type
can't
of thing
I
where
can't
you
imagine
threw him in
so.
in game 5 where it's like,
Well,
we're probably gonna win the series, but, like, we wanna get your feet at least a little bit
I
wet
was gonna say, I guess
before
why would they
we
play
go
him in
on to
Game
face
5 if he
Florida.
wasn't? And
Yeah,
like,
but that's the thing, right? They probably wanna get him into some game action instead of being like, game 1, you haven't played in however
yeah,
many months, and it's like, now you gotta deal with floor check or well, yeah, floor check, Florida's forecheck,
yeah,
um, and just dumping the puck in and just hitting over and over. Probably wanna get him in a little bit of game action and get him up to speed a little bit, I think.
yeah, and like,
That's what I would assume.
yeah, maybe he is a little bit healthier than I was thinking because I figured, it's just the Cup final. They want him playing. He's so good. Like, get him out there as whatever percentage you can. But why? Why would they have played him
Well, that's what
in
I'm saying.
that
That's why
Dallas
they
game?
did
Like, I
play
think,
him against Dallas because I think he is still probably a little bit banged up, but you don't wanna send a guy that's a little bit banged up straight into the
yeah,
cup final and dealing
I
with
don't think
Florida.
I don't think any guy in this position would ever be 100%. But like,
Yeah,
I was thinking that maybe he's coming in at 50 to 60%. I think he's probably closer to 80%
I'd say 70 to
back.
80%, yeah. That's kinda where
Like,
I thought.
because if he's at 50%, I don't think you play him in Dallas when you're up 3-1 in the series just to get a couple minutes in. Like, I feel like at that point,
That's
you would
true,
still
yeah.
be giving him rest if he was that hurt. But if he's, 70, 80, 90% recovered, then maybe it is worth
Get away with it,
giving
yeah.
him because I think he played
Yeah.
15-ish minutes in that game. So, maybe I cannot imagine he's 100%, but maybe he's closer to that than I was thinking. But
Um,
with that, we can
let's
compare these blue lines.
yeah. So
I can go.
Florida's Oh, yeah, yeah, let's start off with Edmonton first for the
Yeah,
D, actually. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Over here in Edmonton, we got Matthias Ekholm and Evan Bouchard on that back together on that top pairing.
We
Bouchard
know what
looked
it
so
can
bad
be.
going into the playoffs. He's been so good since they started now. Uh,
Mhm.
and he get who knows? Maybe he gets more offense going than he's already been doing. He's already been doing great with it, but now he's got Ekholm watching his back again. Maybe he's feeling even more comfortable jumping up, or maybe it just means his plus minus gets better with Ekholm there. Like
Mhm.
that's huge for him.
Yeah, no, that having that come
E-
back, like, makes
Ekholm's going
that
to be
top pair
targeted by that
so much
forecheck
better.
though.
Yeah. Florida's top pairing, Gustav Forsling and Aaron Ekblad. Um, I mean, this is exactly what it sounds like. It's a shutdown pair. It is a pair to just go out there and gonna be matched up against probably the McDavid line, and it's just make sure he doesn't score. And if
Yeah,
that's their job and they end the game with they end the series, they both have 0 goals, 0 assists, 0 points, but they're able to shut down McDavid. That's literally their job. So,
yeah.
um, honestly, for me, I'm kinda leaning Florida, but I'm probably gonna say a wash because we know what, Ekholm and Bouchard can be. We didn't fully quite see it in that game against Dallas, and again, I think it's just because, again, Ekholm's minutes were kind of sheltered a bit, and especially when Edmonton got off to a lead like that. Um, but assuming Ekholm's gonna be a lot healthier now with this extra little bit of time off and what they can be, I'm gonna say a wash because I think the 2 sides kind of even each other out.
I'm okay with saying a wash. I think if they were both fully healthy, I would be leaning Oilers, but given the fact that
Oilers would
Ekholm
have the
is a bit
edge
of a question mark,
offensively, but I think defensively, Florida would have the edge. So that's kinda why I'm like, "You
yeah.
know what? It just cancels each other out."
Yeah. I think if they were both fully healthy, I would just be leaning a bit more because I think they have more extra offense over
Mhm,
Florida than Florida has like extra defense over the Oilers, if that makes
mhm.
sense.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Mainly just
yeah.
because Bouchard, I mean, on that power play, like, good
We're not
God.
talking power play, though. Basically 5 on 5.
Oh, okay. I guess I was just thinking of the two players together. But yeah,
Because
I'm
like, I
definitely
mean, yeah,
fine
on the
saying a
power
wash.
play with McDavid, Draisaitl, like, yeah,
Yeah.
fuck,
I was just thinking of like the overall impact of those two players in
Mhm.
general.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no, yeah, fair
you know what?
enough.
Yeah, I'm good with saying that's a wash. It's tough to
Um,
tell.
yeah. Second pairing.
In Edmonton, we have Darnell Nurse and Brett Kulak on the second pairing. This is much more of
Honestly, I
a
think
shutdown
Nurse has
pair.
been yeah, very similar to kind of what we mentioned with Florida's top pair. Kulak's been he's actually been really good this playoffs. I've really liked Kulak's game. Again, guy it's just the defensive side. Doesn't have to go out there and flash offensively, kind of same as Darnell Nurse. Although Darnell Nurse seems to score a lot of big goals. Doesn't score a lot of goals, but when he does, like, man, that's a big goal for the team.
Yeah.
Um,
Evan,
so
Evan Bouchard's emergence has been one of the best things for Darnell Nurse, like in his career. Like
mhm,
before Bouchard came along, it was just constantly, man, Darnell Nurse, nice number one defense. Like
yeah,
they were trying to make him the quarterback of the power play. They want him to be this two-way threat, but he's always been you know,
he's just
a
meant to be a
shutdown
more
of a big physical shutdown defenseman with a little
mhm,
offensive upside, like top 4 D-man offensive upside, but quarterback in that top power play, that's just not never been his gig.
yeah, it's just yeah. Florida second pair, you got Nico Mikkola with Seth Jones. Um, I'm leaning Florida on this one, strictly because of what Seth Jones has come in and done. You know, we talked about when he
That's
got
fair.
traded and people were low on Seth Jones. I said, this is perfect for him. He doesn't have to be forced, kind of like with Darnell Nurse, doesn't have to be forced into being a number one defenseman. He can slot in on the second pair. He can run the power play, and you put him alongside a solid defense guy like Mikkola, and it could be a great spot for him. And it's been nothing short of that. Seth Jones has
Yeah.
been he looks rejuvenated. He looks like a totally different player with these Panthers. And then Nico Mikkola again, kind of like Nurse, just a big body that plays good, can like
Just
is
a
more
big bastard
defensively
to
and can
deal with in
throw
the
the body
defensive
around.
zone.
Like, yeah. So I'm
Not
I'm
fun
I'm
guy to play
definitely
against.
leaning Florida on this matchup here because of
Yeah, I think I'm
Seth
good
Jones
with leaning Florida a bit on it as well.
looking like a top pair defenseman playing on the second pair because again, he's just been I've been so impressed with how he's looked. I'm happy for him. He's had a
Yeah,
rough road, so he definitely deserves
yeah.
to be in a spot where
Joan
he can finally thrive.
Jones and Nurse have been two guys that I've always kind of like thought of as a bit of a parallel between them. Like ar- around similar times, they both signed these big contracts, and they've just always kind of been the punching bag of their respective teams. Always been
Yeah, it's
like
never like they were
tried to push
bad.
into
It's
that number one role, and they weren't quite that guy, but like they were close
Mhm.
to it. So you can see why they were given the contract, but they just kind of always got shit for it. You know,
Well, it's because they could go out there and have
in a disjointed
a
way, kind
fan
of like a Morgan Riley almost.
yeah, like
Skill set's
Seth Jones
different,
and
but
Nurse could go out there and have a fantastic game. You could be like, "Oh, what a great game." People be like, "Yeah, it's not a $9.5 million game." It's like, I didn't say that. I'm just saying it on what they did in this game was good. I don't care about contracts. Of course their contracts aren't great. Are they ever gonna look great? No. Well, Seth Jones maybe because like Chicago retained some, so Florida's not like paying the full front for it.
yeah,
But it's like,
true.
were the contracts ever be good? No, but you can still give credit where credit's due when they have a good game.
Yeah. And you
Like,
know what? One of those contracts is going to look great because guess what? Every contact contract on your team is awesome when you win the cup.
yeah, that's exactly it. That is a perfect way of putting it. Third pair.
Third pairing in Edmonton, we have Jake Wallman and John Klingberg. That's
Jake Wallman's been a fantastic addition. Um,
being
I
able to
think a
have a
lot
guy
of
like Jake
people
Wallman on your third pair is so goofy.
fuck Detroit
That's
didn't want it.
they
We're
paid
gonna
to
keep
get
going
rid of
back to
this.
that to the end of time, but Detroit
No
didn't
man,
want it.
dude, every once in a while, if I've like had a couple drinks or popped a gummy or something, I'll just have a laughing fit over the idea of him looking at Jake Wallman's stat line and being like, I can't, I need to be able to sign other players. I gotta, and he calls up San Jose. He's like, take a second round pick and please take this player. And San Jose answers the phone like, okay, sure. Like, should I
Yeah,
do a wellness check on Stevie Y? Like, why are you doing this?
yeah, and
Um,
and Wallman came in to
Most confusing move in the last 10 years to me. Like what like legitimately might be the
yeah,
number one. Crazy.
yeah, and like Wallman came in and it was clear he wasn't going to be the same kind of like offensive beast he was with San Jose because again Edmonton's got Bouchard, but Wallman's come in and he's just played a great two-way game. I believe I'll double check. I think he's actually leading the playoffs in plus minus. Oh, he's tied for first with Lundell, and then tied for third because Lundell and Wallman are both plus 12. Tied for third, Lundell's two line mates, Lustein and Marchand at plus 11. Brett Kulak and Draisaitl plus 11. So
Good for Kulak. I always hear
there you go.
people
Yeah,
being like,
pretty good.
man, you
Like,
shouldn't have Brett Kulak in the top four, but like,
he just
but
plays a
damn it,
good defensive game. Block
yeah,
shots,
he
eats
doesn't seem
minutes.
like a guy that should be, but I mean, damn it, he gets
It works.
results.
Yeah, it's worked better than Cody Ceci did.
Yeah.
Not shit on
And
Cody Ceci, but he
and
was always
Klingberg,
put in a tough
he's
spot.
Klingberg's had a nice resurgence in
Yeah,
Edmonton
he's
here.
looked good actually. It was looking a little bit scary when he had got that injury and sounded like he was going to be out long term, but he's come back and looked like a tank. Third pair for Florida, Nate Schmidt, Dmitry Kulikov. Um, really good third pair, honestly. Like this, Nate Schmidt was the perfect guy for them to bring in free agency, and I don't know who they
Did they
lost
just bring him in
on that.
free agency?
Yeah, and on a
He
cheap deal
seems
too.
like
He's
a
only
guy.
making
If
like
you told me
800K.
he's been there for 6 years, I would have believed you.
Yeah, he was with Winnipeg before. I'm trying to
Oh
think
yeah.
of who they let go and who they brought Schmidt
Uh,
in to replace Kulikov on that third pair.
I don't know if it was on the third pair, but Montour was a huge loss for them
Yeah, Monter, but they
last
got Seth
offseason.
Jones to fill in that role.
Right.
Um, I'm gonna look it up here now because it's bugging me. But like Schmidt is coming in, he's just been the perfect guy to put alongside Kulikov. They've worked great. But I am still going with Edmonton because you have Jake Wallman, who's been
Yeah.
it was Oliver Ekman Larson, who
Oliver
was
Lawson
better,
Tossum, of
who was
course.
good offensively. But I think for an overall two-way game, I actually like Nate Schmidt more beside Kulikov there. Crazy as that sounds.
Yeah, there's good arguments for either. It definitely Edmonton for me. Like it's uh,
Mhm.
comparing third pairing guys to Jake Wallman just feels unfair. Like he's just there because
Exactly.
of the
Like,
makeup of this team, and He was the guy they brought in at the deadline. Like, he's
Mhm.
not on very many teams would he be on the third pairing. I don't even know if he'd be on the third pairing if he stayed with Edmonton beyond this year. Like, I think it's just they had their system and they just plugged him in to give incredible depth at the deadline more than anything. But
Yeah, and that's exactly what it was, right? Just to make that blue line deeper.
yeah,
That was a tough spot for Edmonton, was their defensive depth in the playoffs last year, especially when guys are getting banged up, like having the ability that you can roll out Nurse, Coman, Wallman, all guys that can munch minutes, and now you can kind of bring their ice time down a bit and keep them a little bit more fresh. Like that was the goal all along, and
yeah.
it's done perfectly. Goaltenders.
Goaltenders in
Sergei Bobrovsky for Florida, starting goalie, because of
ooh,
course, and Vitek Vanacek uh, as the backup.
I often forget that. Yeah, Vanacek's their guy now in the backup set, obviously.
Yeah,
Um, and then
Bobrovsky, we know the story. Like, we don't even
yeah,
have to dive in. Like, go look at all the playoff episodes of last year, and we've just glazed him like crazy. We know what he's capable of. We know what he can do, and uh,
we were just saying that he might be the Conn Smythe winner. I think
mhm.
he's the second highest betting odds favorite right now. I think it's McDavid, then
Yeah, I
him.
can see that. I can
And
see that. Yeah,
in Edmonton's crease, they got Stuart Skinner as the starter and Calvin Pickard as the backup. It's
it's a lot
like
closer than it
it
would have been
it
if you asked me
should
a
be a
couple weeks
slam
ago.
dunk, but it's not. I think we both know the winner still, but like
Yeah,
it shouldn't be this close,
yeah,
especially for a guy who got pulled for the entire first round and the better part of the
for all their
second.
wins, for all their wins at least.
Yeah,
Like, Stuart Skinner's coming in with 6 wins. Bobrovsky has 12.
yeah.
And
Skinner and
it's
Pickard both have 6 wins. Like he hasn't even passed the quote unquote backup in wins in the playoffs yet.
Mhm.
But
Like, it
but
obviously is
6 wins
still.
and what is it? 3 shutouts?
I think so, yeah.
Like, oh man,
Yeah,
it's
him
wild.
and Bobrovsky both have three shutouts.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's still it's still Florida. It's still with
I gotta go
Bobrovsky
with
in net.
Bob. Yeah.
Um, but it's nothing again, Stuart Skinner, take out the first round, since coming back in and getting the crease. Again, he has been, he's been great, and this is exactly kind of what happened last year. A little bit of a shaky start, but once he gets grounded, once he gets comfortable, once he gets the crease back, because Pickard kind of took it from him last year as well. Once he gets it back and he gets rolling, and a big thing for Edmonton too is when Skinner came back in, especially, and even before, once he went to Pickard, they had to switch to playing a more defensive first game, which is what Florida does and excels at. Edmonton had to buy into that, and it was really impressive how quickly Knobloch was able to get that entire team, all 12 forwards, all 6 defensemen, to buy into that. If we're going to play good defense first, we're going to get the puck the fuck out of our zone, and then we're going to go up and we've got the talent, we can score goals. But it's defense first, and then we get our chances. And just like that, in a matter of seconds, he got the entire team to buy in. And not to say Skinner hasn't played good, because I thought he's played great, but a lot has to be, flowers have to be given to the rest of the Oilers team, because they have started playing such a great defensive game. And that cannot be overlooked, because every time you watch them now, it's like, man, like this team looks different. It's still a very good team. The talent's there, but they look different because it's do our shit, what we need to do in the defensive zone, and then go play and have fun in the offensive zone and rack up goals like crazy, because we have the talent to do so.
Yeah.
So I think it's truly incredible,
Yeah. I
that
think
they've been
that's
able to
the
do that.
coaching style of some of the best teams we've seen in recent years
Mhm.
is the coach
Barry Trotz, Paul
handling the
Maurice.
goaltending and what goes on in the neutral and the defense zone. And then it's like, fuck, you guys, yeah, I'm going to tell McDavid how to score a goal. No, he knows. He knows what to do.
Mhm.
Maybe go tell whoever his wingers are, hey, be in this area and then you'll score goals. But
Corey
like
Perry parks his ass in front of the net and just bangs them home left and right.
Hyman's 1 year removed from like what was it, a 57, a 59 goal season. because he just
Yeah, hit
parked his ass
70
on the
by the
far
end of
side of
the
the
year.
net, and I'll be open.
Yeah, through regular season playoffs, he hit 70, like,
When you're playing with Tom Brady,
so
you don't
yeah.
have to worry about it. You just run far and look for the ball.
Yep, yep. If your guy's in front of the net, if you can tap it home. If you're a guy with Brady, if you can catch a ball, that's all you gotta do. The studs, the franchise level talents, the GOATs, they'll do the rest of the work. But yeah, so Florida, we are giving Florida the edge in that. Again, no disrespect to Stuart Skinner, but it's Bobrovsky, and
50% of his wins, he's got a shutout, but also he's been chased
yeah,
for several games. So
yeah,
who who knows what kind of Stuart Skinner we're gonna get? Right now, it looks like the good one
yeah. It looks
for
looks
Edmonton
looks
events.
really good. Um, with Edmonton, the two things I'm worried about is obviously not having Zach Hyman. That definitely hurts. Like,
I believe Hyman's leading the playoffs in hits.
probably, yeah. He's just been a
So
wrecking
not
ball.
having that against a team like Florida, that sucks. That really
Yeah.
sucks.
I'm assuming Connor Brown's going to come back and be healthy in that top six, and that's huge for them. Um, but again, it's impossible to place a guy like Zach Kine and what he does in terms of the scoring goals, the leadership aspect of him, the physicality, all of it type of thing. And then the other one is Matthias Ekholm. We know he's back. We know he's healthy enough to play. Don't know what level he's at. I am worried a bit when it comes to that because Florida's thing is dump the puck in and go and just hammer the defenseman over and over and get the puck loose. Ekholm is a big boy. He knows how to take hits. He knows how to protect himself. But it just comes down to you can know all of that, but at the end of the day, injuries do still happen. And if your body's not 100%, there is always that risk of injury. I am a little bit worried about that, but I'm going to believe that Ekholm is a big enough stud that he is going to be able to be okay through that. Um,
Yeah,
again, not super
there's
pumped
not a
about it,
great
but
defense for a 210-pound guy trying to skate through you as hard as he can. Like, even if you're
exactly, and
very prepared for it, there's not a ton you can do about it.
yeah, and with Florida, I mean, they're coming in healthy, so I don't have any of those concerns. Um, a concern is
I mean, coming in
can they?
healthy is relative, right? Like, they're coming in with most of
Yeah,
their main guys in their lineup, but
yeah, like Matthew
a
Kachuk
lot
is
of them
is
look injured.
definitely is banged up, but he's still doing his thing. How long can he do that in this series? We'll see. My thing with Florida is my two things with Florida is are they able to get goals by this Edmonton team that's playing great defense and Skinner the way he's playing? On paper, offensively, I liked Dallas's team more in that aspect. They really struggled. Can Florida do it with their system? Maybe we'll have to wait and see. And then shutting down McDavid and Draisaitl. Florida's able to do it for games 1 to 3 pretty much last year, but 4, 5, 6, McDavid especially, um, they struggled to do so. They're able to do so when it mattered in Game 7, but they got to be ready for that because it's like we talked about Edmonton. They've already had this trip to the dance last year, came up short. Second time around, they look healthier. First of all, this time around, they've got that chip on their shoulder.
They look
They're coming. They're like,
so
this is our
dialed.
this is our
I,
our our year to win.
I don't know
Um,
if I've ever seen a team look so we just fucking won business as usual in the playoffs when they're not a
Mhm.
repeating winning team. For a team that hasn't won, like, man, like the whole run last year just I know I talked about it, I'm pretty sure on one of the previous episodes, but like McDavid was talking about how emotional it was and like you could visibly see it even without going and looking for a lot of that stuff. The whole dig the fuck in boys speech he was giving
yeah.
to them and everything, and like especially because they were doing the Amazon documentary at the time, which is
Mhm.
great stuff. Like,
Shout out to that trainer still. Not a lot of people give him enough credit for going and pulling that curtain closed. Respect to that guy. Like that's
yeah,
I loved
like
that he was like, you know what? You got your little clickbait thing, but now I'm shutting it down. No more. Like let the team
yeah,
be the team
like
in here. We don't need any more fucking cameras and
mhm.
lights and shit. Like again, the
Like
players did sign up for it for sure, but the trainer realized like, all right, you got your moment and now
you got the
let the
footage
boys
now.
get
Piss
to
off. We're
work
gonna
and
do the thing.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
like, but it felt so raw and emotional last year. This year, they've
Mhm.
been they've been hired guns. They look like assassins out there. They're taking these teams down and they're just walking off the ice and just, yep, fucking, oh no, we're down 2-0 at the start of the playoffs. Guess we'll just sweep you the rest of the way. I guess we'll just beat Vegas in 5 games like no problem. Oh, now we're
Potentially
facing.
could have been a sweep
Yeah,
if
yeah, it was a
Draisaitl
it was a
didn't
pretty
score on his
goofy
own net.
bounce for
Like,
their only game-winning goal
that was
for
Vegas'
Vegas.
last goal of the season, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, I guess it would have been. And
That's
then
crazy.
and then after both of those, okay, fine. But now you're facing a challenge. Now you got the Dallas start. Mikko Rantanen's out of this world. They depth throughout the whole lineup. They made them look like children out there, dude. Like
Yeah.
they dumpstered them. Like
If Draisaitl didn't score on his own net like that, and if Edmonton didn't get into that penalty trouble in game 1, there's a very realistic chance they could have went down 2-0 to LA, just won 12 straight to the cup final. Like,
yeah,
that we were so close to that being a very realistic thing that we'd be talking about, and it's like, holy shit. We talk about the playoffs, Stanley Cup again, it's this isn't up for debate. The hardest trophy to win in sports, and it's in my opinion, not close.
it blows
Um,
my mind that if you make the playoffs, how many games does it take to win the Super Bowl? 3 or 4?
um, yeah, yeah, depending on your positioning, could be 3 or could be 4.
Yeah, you can win it in 3 games. Hell, if you take the long route, you win in 4. In the NHL, congrats, you just made it to the second round. You're a
Yeah.
quarter of the
And
way
and again,
there.
like NFL, lot of big hitting for sure. It's got that
Yeah,
little tough
entirely
spot of like
different.
you lose one game, you're done type of thing. Um, but again, like when you look what
A
these players
2-month
go through,
playoff
like
run is just crazy. It's
yeah,
not like the guys in the NHL aren't getting hit like crazy, you know?
yeah.
Shit ton of travel, especially in this
Um,
series.
yeah, yeah. I agree. Like Edmonton has looked like a wagon. No disrespect to Florida. Like Florida's looked so great in their own right. Like they took a Tampa team that was, in my opinion, the hottest team in the league going into the playoffs. That's why I had them going to the Cup final.
Yeah, a lot of
Um,
people had Tampa beating the Panthers this year, and like
yeah,
they freaking took it to us, man. Like they're undeniably great, and they also look very calm, not emotional, but like it's one of those things. It's more expected from them because they were just here last year. This is their third Cup final in a row. Like it's just surprising seeing how calm the Oilers have been,
yeah.
considering they haven't got those rings yet.
And then Toronto, I mean, yeah, it went 7, but I think Florida kind of came in feeling like it was going to be a bit easier, and they went down 2-0, kind of similar to Edmonton with LA. And then when Florida needed to get it going, like game 6 aside, but even though I still think Florida easily could have won that one, they took it to Toronto and really kind of just grabbed them by the balls and said like, nah, nah, not today. This ain't happening. And then Carolina's a great team. Yeah, there's that thing they can't win the Eastern Conference Final. They did win one game, but Florida really just took it to them as well. Um, so, and Florida again still riding on that. When they're leading after any period, whether it's the first period or second period, if they got a lead, they win the game.
I wanted
That
to bring
record
that
still
up.
holds.
I wanted to bring that up because
That's going to be very interesting to see if Edmonton can
I
can
think they
break that.
can.
I
Because
definitely think they
all through
can.
these playoffs, despite winning however many games in a row and how many they've won and how few they've lost, uh, so many of those games they have to do because they're comeback wins. They have
Yeah.
to they like kind of go down a bit and then they rally
Um,
back. And like
uh, I mean, not in the third round, not really the second round.
like
Like, they only, like,
they're
kinda showed
they're
that
very
against
good
the
at
good
coming
teams.
back when the other team
Yeah.
does score first. And Florida is one of the best teams. I mean, the best team right now for sure. That when they have you on the ground, they put their foot on your throat and they don't let up and they close out the games they're winning. But this Oilers
I
team
think that
seems like
still
one of the
holds
best for
true.
making comeback. So
That also holds true with Edmonton, though. If Edmonton gets the lead, like, you look at the Vegas series for the most part, especially the Dallas one, like, if Edmonton gets to a lead, they just roll with it. And that's why I'm kinda looking at the
they
series, I'm like,
can, but
like
also maybe they get Stuart Skinner that lets in 3 on 4 shots.
mhm, mhm. Well, and yeah, that is, I think, the biggest X factor is Stuart Skinner in this series, but I think
It's
in
the
this series,
same
like,
X factors as
for
last year, isn't
goalers,
it? It's
yeah.
is McDavid going to score at 1.5 point per game, or is he going to score at 3.5 per game over the series? And is Skinner going to be a 950 or an 800 goaltender?
Mhm. And so in this series, like,
Impossible
I
to
think
guess.
the first goal in every game is just so important. Like, who can get to that, you know, get that early lead, and then who, forcing the other team to try and play catch up to
Yeah,
get back into the game with you. The first goal is going to be um very crucial, very important. And again, yeah, I think the X factor is kind of like can Florida's defense contain McDavid, and can Stuart Skinner continue to hold his own, because again, since coming back, he has absolutely been able to do so. Um,
yeah. The first few minutes after each goal, huge as well. These are two of the best teams
mhm,
at rallying from being scored on. Like, especially
yeah,
Florida, they're so good at. Toronto gets one, and then you check your phone. Oh, okay, they got Florida just scored right back. It's tied again. Oh, you
yeah,
almost had us. It's tied again. Like they. That's one of those things that winning teams do so often. They're great at bouncing right back, capitalizing
mhm,
on the players on the ice being a little distracted. The fanfare of a big playoff goal, or you know, trying to maybe they're in their own head about it, like just capitalizing right after those big moments.
yeah,
These two teams are great
100%.
at it.
Do you have anything else on this series, or is it time for us to get into the wrap up portion and our final predictions?
I think that's I think that's about all I really had, other than our final predictions, pretty much.
All right. So what we're gonna do for this one is each gonna give our prediction for who's gonna win the Stanley Cup and how many games. And as a little cherry on top, we are going to do Conn Smythe winner as well. Braden, I'm going to throw the floor to you. You don't have to do Conn Smythe yet, but just your Stanley Cup winner this year, and in how many games. This is the big moment here.
I am a little bit tempted to say 6 games, but who wants to guess 6 games? I'm going 7 games, and I think the Edmonton Oilers are going to exercise last year's demons, and they're going to win the Stanley Cup.
Game seven, if they do win, would be in Edmonton. Would be a crazy atmosphere and a lot of fights. Because it seems like win or
Might be
lose,
crazier if
Edmonton
Florida
fans
won.
fight each other. Um, yeah, yeah, 4 wins.
I don't
Um,
know if their plexiglass is thick enough for to keep the
containing
Panthers
that.
safe from the crowd if they won.
Yeah, if they win again. Yeah, 'cause Florida did win last year in seven in Florida. My final prediction, you kind of mentioned it. I'm going with it. I'm going to Edmonton in six. They
You're
may
going
not win at
6.
home, but at the end of the day, if they win the cup, who fucking cares? It's just winning the cup that matters. I think Edmonton finds a way to,
The
to close
the
this one out in six in Florida.
the arena in Edmonton is going to go crazy even if the players aren't there. I'm sure they're going to be broadcasting the game and you can go watch it there. Hell, did you hear how loud the place was when McDavid touched the conference champion
Yeah.
trophy? It's like that wasn't even during a game, and the entire building is screaming. Like, can you imagine if they win? Like, it would still be absolute scenes in Edmonton,
Hmm.
regardless if it was away. Like, this is gonna be so exciting.
And then Conn Smythe winner, who we probably got.
Connor McDavid.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's McDavid. If Edmonton's winning the cup, it's gonna be McDavid. Um,
If Florida wins the cup, I think in the way it's going in my head, they have to win in 6 or less for it to go to probably Bob. If it goes to 7, it might just go to McDavid again. Like,
but again, it
I'm
comes down
I'm
to
I'm
what
expecting
McDavid
such an
does.
insane. Exactly, and I'm expecting, like, same as last year, I'm expecting a legacy series. Like,
If Florida
anything
wins,
short of that is a disappointment. Like, that's the bar he set himself at.
hmm,
He is just so nuts when he plays out there. He's by the way, earlier in this playoff run, he already cracked the top 50 all time in playoff points. He's actually in the top 40 now. He's tied for
hmm,
39th overall.
he's uh, he's a freak of nature. That guy.
In
Yeah,
90 games. Look at this fucker. Look at the games. He's got 90 games played. These are the guys on the next 3 on either side of him. So above and below on the all-time points list. 227 games played, 201, 171. McDavid at 90. 145,
Yeah.
143, 130, 231. That's Corey Perry, who gets to play with the guy.
Yeah. It's insane, man. Like what McDavid's able to do on a consistent basis um is absolutely nuts. Obviously my pick is Edmonton in 6 and I'm going McDavid Conn Smythe. If Florida wins the Stanley Cup, Brad Marchand.
That would be
I think if
very
Florida wins the
interesting to
cup,
see.
I'm going Brad Marchand. I think Bobrovsky's still going to be good. He's going to have to be solid for them to win the cup. I think there might be a couple, rough games here and there, and I can really see a guy like Brad Marchand stepping up and really being a driving force again. We talk about how good that third line is. Like Brad Marchand is right up there and scoring for the team. I could see Brad Marchand
That's so
win the
interesting
Conn
because,
Smythe.
like,
I think he's
he has
due.
a
I think
genuinely
he's
good
could have a
good
great series here.
reasoning for it. But, like, he's one of those guys that, he plays on the third line. Like, would they consider him? But also the recognition, Brad Marchand. Like, of course they'll vote
Mhm.
for him. It's very interesting. I'm looking it up right now. I really want to see what the odds are and if he's in the conversation.
I'd be
He's plus.
shocked if he's not in the conversation.
He's currently plus 6,000. So if you put a dollar on him to win the Conn Smythe, every dollar gets you back $60. He is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, ninth most likely, and that's across both teams.
And again, the biggest thing is Stanley Cup final. This is the series that matters the most. You could have a guy that's 20th on there and they have a great Stanley Cup final. They could find themselves winning it. Like obviously it's the entirety of the playoffs, but the Stanley Cup final is the biggest thing of like, yeah, maybe you had 30 points in the first 3 rounds, but it went 7 games. You didn't put up a point in the Stanley Cup final. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, probably ain't winning. Like
you know what perfectly exemplifies that? Two of the guys that you can vote, because not everyone is available to vote on here, but you know who two guys that are? You could vote for Mackie Samoskevich to win the Conn Smythe. Because if he just shows up and does a hat trick in every game and Florida wins, there's a good chance he
yeah,
gets it. Vitek
yeah.
Vanacek's on here. If Bob goes down and Vanacek just goes 4 games and lets in like 1 goal, uh, he's got a good case.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like the Stanley Cup final, it can change the entirety of the Conn Smythe. So, um, again, my pick is still Edmonton, but if Florida does win, yeah, give me Brad Marchand. Why not? Just for fun. Just add a
yeah,
little spice on top of it.
I
Um,
think I think it'll probably be. Well, you know what? Depending what the scoring is, but I can't see Edmonton getting that little scoring. But then again, Florida's great at doing that to teams. I would go with Barkov. I think people would love to
and
give him one as
you
well, and he's been
couldn't go,
great.
couldn't go wrong. Absolutely could not. I just want to throw maybe a little oddball one out there,
No, I think Marchand's a great
and
pick for it.
Marchand maybe goes off. But I believe we are at the end of the episode here for our Stanley Cup preview and predictions. Um, Probably we'll have some stuff out on the socials around this. So if you want to join in on some of the conversations, let us know your picks, predictions, who you think is going to the Stanley Cup, how many games, Conn Smythe, all of that. You can do so through any of our socials. The links to all of them are down in the description across all episodes, across all platforms. Braden, before we get underway here on Wednesday for the Stanley Cup final, I must ask you final thoughts.
Oh, final thoughts. I I think this is going to be a really hard fought series. Um, I'm praying that we don't see any major injuries. Like, it would just be so annoying. It's always annoying, but especially in the finals, like, it just sucks to see. Hoping everyone can stay healthy. It doesn't get, you want it to get chippy, but you don't want it to get like unfun chippy. I want to see guys fight after every whistle in the crease. I don't want to see slashing at the ankle behind the plays. I don't want to see elbow to the head of the goalie. Like,
Mhm.
I want to
Both
just
these teams
see.
can dish it out, so they got to be careful about what they dish out because the other
Well,
team
and
will give
that's
it
the
right
thing. I
back to
think
them.
it'll be an arms race to see,
Mhm.
you know, whose arm can hit whose head first if they start doing that. Like, the second one of those happens, I think all bets are out. I think Evander Kane's going to bowl through Bobrovsky. I think he's going to be hitting Kachuk from behind. I think Kachuk's going to go flying through Skinner. I think he's going to be hacking at McDavid's hands. Like it'll get brutal so fast, and all it takes is that one spark at the start to light the fire. So
Yeah.
we'll see what that
Ref's
is,
gotta
and
be
we'll
on
see
their
what
game.
the responses are. Yeah, who
Mhm.
knows what kind of refing we'll get. Um, but at the end, I hope it's a close
Just good
series.
hard hockey.
Yeah, yeah. I hope it's close. I hope there's not too many blowout games,
Mhm.
and
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
I'm I'm excited. This is going to be
Yeah.
fun.
I think it's going to be a great series. I'm definitely looking forward to it. But that will wrap up everything for this episode. Once again, hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all enjoy the game on Wednesday. But we'll be back on Friday to discuss everything surrounding game one, potentially some other news around the league, depending on what goes on. But that is it for this one. Once again, hope you all enjoyed. And as always, we'll see all of you out on the ice later this week.